Greetings and peace. I would like to start this with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Peace be with you and yours. And Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. This presentation I would like to do, who are the true Knights Templars and the Islamic origins of Freemasonry and Knights Templar. I represent myself only, and this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This lecture is inspired by my brother and friend, Brother Salim Hakim, from Prince Hall Lodge, number 57, in Philadelphia, USA, and it's about unmasking the real lineage within Freemasonry. Why this investigation matters? It's because modern Freemasonry is full of theater and regalia, but rarely substance. Amid the confusion lies the legacy of the Knights Templars, portrayed as Christian warriors, yet embedded in Masonic tradition. This presentation pulls back the curtain to expose the following. 1. That the real Templars were defenders of all faiths. Their roots and alliances reached into Islamic, Sufi, and Moorish mysticism. And the Scottish Rite, not the York Rite, carries their spiritual DNA. If we look at the York Rite illusion, right? The York Rite parades Templar knights in European pageantry, swords, white robes and crosses, and the costumes. Yet these same orders deny any meaningful connection to Jacques de Molay or his true purpose. They want the image, not the sacrifice, the symbol, not the soul, right? They love to say that, modern Freemasonry has no connection to the Knights Templars. Then why are they portraying it within their initiatic systems and teachings if it has nothing to do with it? Now let's get to the bottom of this, on what actually happened to the Templars. By 1307, the Templars were wealthy, powerful, and international, and that scared the papacy, of course. Pope Clement V and King Philip IV of France conspired with the Knights of Malta to betray them. Accusations of heresy, right, having brotherhood and having fraternity with Muslims, and protecting hidden doctrines led to Jacques de Molay's execution, but their legacy survived underground. Now we look at the historical lie of the Knights of Malta. The Pope gave all Templar assets to the Knights of Malta, their rivals. Today, the York Rite falsely claims both Templar and Maltese traditions. This is historically absurd. The Malta Knights were enforcers of church orthodoxy, not preservers of Templar wisdom. The true vessel of the Templars is the Scottish Rite. The ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, AASR, especially the 30th through 33rd degrees, upholds the true esoteric legacy. The Knights Kadosh are guardians of mystical knowledge, seekers of truth, not crusaders. And that's why if you look at, let's say, the Scandinavian countries, right, they are Christian exclusive, right? And of course the Viking connection to the Crusades and the Crusaders. But besides all that, any, let's say, visiting Freemason from any other country that tries to sit in a meeting with them has to be 30th degree and above of the Scottish Rite, because they consider them the same aspect of being in the Templar tradition. So that's something to look at as well. If we look at the Knights of Kadosh and St. Andrew, we see the Knights Kadosh purify the soul. The Knights of St. Andrew serve as vigilant stewards of sacred principles. These degrees represent humility, wisdom, and service, and not theatrical swordplay. And for those that have seen the degrees of the Knights of St. Andrews, you see that fraternity between the Muslims and Christian brothers. We look at the Templars and Shriners, a secret alliance. In Jerusalem, Christian Templars and Muslim Shriners began mutual respect while guarding holy sites. They exchanged scriptures and prayers. This spiritual alliance birthed the earliest interfaith brotherhood in the mystic tradition, the mystic tie that binds us all. Richard de Lionheart and Saladin were brothers of the same esoteric orders. Many people did not know that any time Richard and Saladin met with each other, Richard would greet him with the lion's grip. Richard the Lionheart and the lion's grip, right? King Richard of England and Sultan Saladin were respected foes. When Richard was ill, Saladin sent his doctor. They honored each other with dignity, and the story shows Templars were not religious bigots but defenders of sacred honor across faith lines. And how even in the Masonic teachings you see that brother Masons from opposite sides, whether it's the Civil War or anything like that, when they recognized each other, they spared each other's lives. The true Templars are defenders of all faiths. True Templars protected pilgrims, not just Christians, but Jews and Muslims. And Saladin, as a brother of the same order, gave that same respect back to the Christians and their relics and churches in Jerusalem. They were spiritual warriors, not colonial crusaders. Their creed was divine service and not religious supremacy. So for the ignoramuses in the Masonic world and in those private Facebook groups, the Templar groups, and anywhere where they're using the Deuce Wolt memes against Muslims, go F yourself. And that includes Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, with that tattoo. So, and the Jerusalem cross and all that. You people are, you're not even on that level of what the true brothers of this order represented. We see the Hashemiyah, the black tents of Kedar. The Hashemiyah, descended from the Prophet Muhammad's uncle Hamza, guarded Mecca in black tents, known as the tribe of Kedar. They became the early mystic protectors, the original Shriners. The Moors taught the Crusaders, as I've covered in previous videos, where in Spain and North Africa, Moors taught European Templars geometry, astronomy, medicine, and the mystical arts, and brought Europe out of darkness into the Renaissance with a Moorish presence in Spain. The fez, now misunderstood, came from Moorish scholars, not carnival showmen. Shahada and spiritual initiation. Some Templars accepted Islam, right, including Robert of St. Albans, who actually married Saladin's niece too. They studied Arabic, read the Quran, and bore witness that there is no God but Allah. This spiritual initiation was a return to unity, not a betrayal of faith. And of course, the Sufi influence and Qadir. A mystic named Qadir had a warrior order. After his death, a ritual drama commemorated his life. Europeans witnessed it and brought the rite to America, unknowingly birthing the ancient Arabic order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. The birth of the shrine in the U.S., where we see European Masons misunderstood the depth of Sufi mysticism. They formed the shrine with rituals rooted in Moorish plays, but often stripped of substance and intention. And we see how watered down it all really is for those that have seen it. The hidden black shrine, where we see that before York Rite or American Shrindom, there existed a black shrine. Deuce Muhammad Ali initiated Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, and Elijah Muhammad. This was the real mystical current. We also had Abul Hamid Suleiman, right, from Sudan, his warning. He came to America to restore the authentic mystic shrine. But when he revealed they must embrace Islam, Masons rejected him. Of course, the truth was too uncomfortable, and even till this very day. The York Rite's great hypocrisy. The York Rite claims neutrality, yet excludes Islam and embraces colonial imagery. It denies its Eastern sources while dressing in Eastern symbols. This is spiritual imposture. Freemasonry's Moorish blueprint, the columns, the square, the ritual, all came from Africa and Arabia. The true builders were Sufis, Moors, and the Hermeticists. Freemasonry without the East is a hollow temple. And of course, you're told to travel to the East. Now, who are the true Knights Templar today? True Templars stand for divine justice, not dogma. They are mystics, defenders of truth, and friends to all Abrahamic faiths. They walk with light, not robes. Now we look at Frederick of Prussia, guardian of the Rite. Frederick II of Prussia, also known as Frederick the Great, played a foundational role in formalizing the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite in the 18th century. He was not just a monarch, but a philosopher king, deeply interested in mysticism and Masonic ideals. Under his influence, the Scottish Rite became a vessel for the esoteric teachings of the Knights Templar, and he is credited with safeguarding their deeper secrets within the structure of the 33rd degrees. Now, specifically that degree. Frederick's vision was not about ritual for ritual's sake, it was about preserving light through dark times. Now, why did I mention Frederick of Prussia? And of course, King of Prussia and the mall is named after him, for those in the Philly area. So if we look at the 33rd degree revelation, right, the true oath. So in the 33rd and final degree of the Scottish Rite, the one who goes through that, right, they call him the Sovereign Grand Inspector General, but their true title should be Knights Templar, because the initiate is given a shocking revelation that he is symbolically the spiritual descendant of the true Knights Templar. So in that 33rd degree, they're told that you're basically given that true identity of being that Knights Templar. And he is instructed to uphold the legacy of Jacques de Molay and to swear a spiritual vengeance against the historical enemies of the Templars, namely the Knights of Malta. This vengeance is not one of violence, but of remembrance and truth-telling. The candidate learns the truth that was buried by the Church, that the Templars carried hidden knowledge from the East, safeguarded by mystics, Sufis, and Moors. Of course, if we look at the degree system of the Knights Templars and the Hashashin, we see quite the similarity. Where if we look at the Knights Templar, right, you have the Grand Master, the 3 Grand Priors, the Provincial Prior, the Chaplains, the Knights, the Esquires, the Serving Brethren, the Donato and Obligati, and the Affiliati. If we look at the Hashashin, we see the Grand Master, or the Prince of the Mountain, the Old Man of the Mountain, the Dais al-Kabir, or the 3 great viceroys under him, the Dais, or provincial masters, the Rafiq, or chaplains, the Lazik, or military body, the Ferayin, or death-devoted, and the Batini, or the secret brethren, affiliates. It's quite similar. And of course, the Knights Templars studied under the Hashashin and took that knowledge back to Europe. We see the Arabization of the Knights Templars, where the charges against them accuse them of being crypto-Muslim, with worshipping of Baphomet, right, which in the French spelling and pronunciation was a bastardization of Mahomet. And of course, they were accused of denial of Christ and persecuted on a Friday, which is a holy day for Islam. The Knights Templars made treaties in the Holy Land with Muslims contrary to French interest and betraying Frankish armies to Muslims during periods of conflicts. Robert of St. Albans, an English Knights Templar who converted to Islam and married Saladin's niece. In the 1270s, the Templar commander in Sidon, Matthew Savage, also spelled Sermaj, and the Mamluk ruler of Egypt, Sultan Baybars, were blood brothers. Hugues de Paynes, right, the co-founder and the first Grand Master of the Knights Templars, was a descendant of Moorish Sufis. His grandfather was a Moorish Sufi who had instructed him in the sciences. And if you look at the Pagani family crest of Sicily, he comes from that family, right? And it has Moorish heads on there if you look at the family crest. So, yeah, that's what it is. People have to know the true history and who's who and what's what. If you want to honor Jacques de Molay, study Sufism, Moorish science, and the Quran. Seek the tents of Kedr and the spirit of Saladin. Forget the play and remember the purpose. Of course, the references and gratitude go to the research by Brother Salim Hakim, Prince Hall Lodge number 57, and sources include Imam Isa, Noble Drew Ali, Dus Muhammad Ali, and Islamic Sufi and Masonic traditions. Thank you for watching. If any questions or comments, please email me at salmansheikh911@gmail.com. And of course, all my work, including the information, criticisms, education, images, everything is under the copyright laws of fair use education purpose, and all my videos are for nonprofit and education purposes. Thank you. All rights reserved.